Hello and welcome back. I am bringing you a solo episode today, and I wanted to share with you a topic that we've touched on before, but I don't know that we've ever gone this avenue, this route. And I think it's really important for us to discuss this. So, we're going to be talking today about a common culprit of migraines, headaches, that many of us might not realize actually exist. Okay. And so, what that culprit is gluten. All right. And I bring this topic up because this is actually something that I have been dealing with in real time. If you know, I have in the past, most of my time in the nutrition space, so the past 4 years, for most of that time, I have eliminated gluten and dairy. And only recently have I brought it back in just to, see how my body reacts. Well, unfortunately, when it comes to gluten, my body is still really not jiving with that. And there's a whole host of reasons. The conditions that I have, one of my autoimmune conditions, um, it's kind of you're almost predisposed to having a sensitivity to gluten with that, and that would be hypothyroidism. Um, and I should say Hashimoto's hypothyroidism because I have the autoimmune condition version of this thyroid condition. But um, most of us don't realize that just because you don't have celiac, which celiac you have to be tested for, it's a blood test. Just because you don't have celiac doesn't mean that you can't have gluten sensitivity. So, in today's episode, we're going to be diving into this whole topic, okay? And you know me, I like to bring all sides of the issue. I like to give you all the research, all the details, right? So, I'm going to be doing just that. So, we're going to start by defining what a migraine is. There's actually four different components to a migraine. You may feel all of these, you may not, right? Everybody's different. So we're going to talk about what those different components of a migraine are so you can start to think about detecting them in the future and hopefully support yourself from alleviating those migraines. And then we're going to get into gluten sensitivity and what is that, right? And then finally, next steps for how do you combat this gluten sensitivity? If you are getting headaches from gluten sensitivity, what what can we do about it, right? So let's go ahead and let's actually dive into this. All right. So first things first is let's talk about migraines being defined. Like, what actually are we talking about, right? Okay, so according to the Mayo Clinic, a migraine is a headache that can cause severe throbbing, pain, or pulsing sensations, usually on one side of the head. And it's often accompanied by nausea, vomiting, and extreme sensitivity to light and sound. Okay, so probably most of us, if you're lucky, have experienced that, right? If you are one of the fortunate ones that hasn't, then lucky you. But there are four different components to a migraine, so we're going to dive into that here for a second. So the first one is the prodrome. And I had to look this up because I was like, what is that? What does that actually mean? Prodrome is just the medical term for early signs or symptoms of a condition, right? So prodrome, meaning before the migraine starts, you might be able to catch it, right? And do something to support yourself to prevent it, right? Maybe, taking like a Tylenol to help ward it off, right? But typically the prodrome symptoms come 1 to 2 days before a migraine actually starts, okay? And it's very subtle. It doesn't come on all at once. But some of those symptoms that you might experience in the prodrome phase would be constipation, mood changes from depression to euphoria, food cravings, neck stiffness, increased urination, fluid retention, and frequent yawning. So if you're like, oh, I've noticed that, and then the next day or 2 days later, I have a migraine, these, could be some signs to you that in the future, if you're noticing this, and then the next thing that happens is you get a migraine the next day or two, then this could be helpful for you to try to, like I said, ward it off. Take some steps to hopefully not have a full-fledged migraine. Now, the next part, so the second step of going through the migraine process is the aura, okay? And again, not everybody experiences every single part of this, but an aura might occur before or during migraines, all right? And these are reversible symptoms, okay, that are caused by the nervous system. They're usually visual, but they can also include other disturbances and they can last anywhere from just a couple of minutes to up to an hour. So examples of migraine auras could include things like um, seeing various shapes or bright spots or flashes of light, vision loss, pins and needle sensations in your arms or legs, weakness or numbness in the face or one side of the body, and also difficulty speaking. Okay, so these are some things that you may have experienced or maybe not, right? There's just sometimes things that could happen before and during a um, a migraine. The next one is going to be the actual full-fledged attack, okay? Usually migraines are going to last anywhere from 4 to 72 hours if you don't know anything about them. And of course, we know that they vary from person to person. But migraines can also occur several times a month, or rarely occur. Maybe you get one in a blue moon, once in a blue moon. But when you have a migraine, typically you're going to experience pain on one side of your head, but it could often be both as well. You might have pain that throbs or pulses in your head, sensitivity to light, and sometimes smell and touch sensitivity, and then potentially even nausea or vomiting. Okay. Then we get into the post-drome, so after the after effects, right? And this is where you might feel drained, right? Exhausted or confused, and just kind of done for the next day, or the rest of the day because you just are spent, mentally and but also physically. Some people, on a rare occasion, report feeling elated. Okay, so that's not me, but if that's you, wow, that's incredible. And also there have been people have noticed that sudden head movements might bring on again the pain for a brief period of time. And again, not everybody goes through all four stages, but it's just important, I think, to know, because if you are someone like me who likes to be proactive, you can start to catch these things before they become full-fledged. Um, so those are the four stages. Now I want to get into gluten sensitivity, right? Because as I said, this is something I've noticed since I've over the summer incorporated a little bit more gluten back into my diet, and I've realized very quickly that I need to eliminate it again because it's just not something that um, is supportive to my body, and just gives me a whole lot of um, not great feelings in my body. It's just not a great experience digesting gluten for me. So that's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm fortunate to know that that's what's causing, these headaches, these migraines that I'm having from time to time. So we're going to dive into that too, and I'm going to share why gluten actually does cause, like, what is the reason why you're having these headaches related to gluten sensitivity. So we'll get into that here in just a moment. But like I shared, oh, Riker is trying to check out stuff on the floor. Riker, no thank you. There's some school stuff there. Just leave it. Um, like I was saying, gluten sensitivity is different from being someone who is gluten, has a gluten allergy, right? In terms of like someone who has celiac disease, right? So when we think of it that way, gluten sensitivity is the less severe version of celiac disease, because you're not testing positive for celiac, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a blood test, but you still have sensitivity to it, right? You're still having issues, adverse symptoms that are not supportive to your overall health and just your quality of being. Um, Now, I also want to share that there is no damage being done directly to your small intestine if you have gluten sensitivity. Whereas if someone who does have celiac disease eats gluten, that is actually damaging and affecting their small intestine. Okay. This information all comes from Beyond Celiac. They're an organization that you can definitely check out if you're interested. But we know that gluten is in a whole host of products, right? So we know that gluten we can find in breads, cakes, pizzas, cookies, even in soy products, so soy sauce, beer, malt flavorings, and I mean, there are other things. The list goes on. But what we need to know, I personally think, is okay, why is gluten sensitivity, why is that impacting us in terms of having these headaches or these migraines, right? So gluten sensitivity causes this for many people who causes headaches for many people who have gluten sensitivity because it's triggering inflammation in the gut. And we know that the gut and the brain are connected, right? Through that vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve. And because of that, we then feel the effects of it, right? It's causing distress in the gut, and the gut and the brain are connected. And so then, like naturally, whatever we are feeling in the gut, we're going to also feel in the brain too. It may not feel exactly like what's going on in the gut, but there's going to be that gut brain connection. So you're going to feel something from it. So it's inflammation. Okay. It's the root cause of this whole issue is the gluten causes inflammation because it's not being processed effectively in the gut. So what I did want to share with you is next steps. Now that we know that, if you're someone who's like, oh my gosh, I'm having, headaches after eating gluten, I'm noticing that maybe you've been tracking your food or what have you, and you've picked up on that. My suggestion for you or suggestions for you would be the following, and you decide what it is feels right for you, and maybe start with one thing, and if that's not working, try another. But there are approaches. The low FODMAP diet is one. I've been on it before and it's been supportive. It is not something that you want to be on long term. But the low FODMAP diet is one that can help because it focuses on eliminating short chain carbs, which are just sugars, that are poorly absorbed in the small intestine. So yes, it does mean eliminating some fruits and vegetables as well. Whereas if you just cut out, like the gluten containing breads and pastas and things like that, you might also see success, but some people who are highly sensitive can also see benefit from utilizing the low FODMAP approach. So that could be something that you try. And again, you just Google low FODMAP and it will come up with a whole bunch of suggestions. There's even, recipe suggestions. I have a whole, I think, week's worth, if not more, of low FODMAP recipes in like a pamphlet that I've created. So if you need those, reach out to me and I can share those with you. But that would be one route, right? Another route would be just to opt for, like I said, the gluten-free brands of your favorite, pastas and breads and things. When it comes to breads, Udi's and Char are two of probably the most common that you can find at the grocery store, and pretty reasonably priced, I think, and they taste pretty decent as well. So those could be alternatives for you if you're like, oh, I need some bread still, and or I want some bread still, but I don't want to go down, the gluten avenue because I know that that's what's causing my migraines, my headaches. So that could be an option, right? Is opting for those gluten free brands. You could just go gluten free, cold turkey, right? Um, that's another option. And then the two things that I'm going to mention next, they're two different brands, but the same type of supplement. So Equilife, so it's EQUI, and then Life, Equilife, you can find them online. Great company, great integrative company, integrative medicine and integrative nutrition. They have it's called dairy and gluten enzyme support. Um, and it contains five really great ingredients. One is DPP IV, and that assists with digestion of gluten. It also contains lactase, which is the enzyme that we need to break down lactose. It also contains an enzyme that breaks down plant fibers, as well as another enzyme that helps to digest carbs, and then a final um, ingredient that helps to break down sugars and fructose and glucose. So that, like I said, is called their dairy and gluten enzyme support. So if you um, have had dairy or gluten, maybe you also are a little adverse to dairy, you can take the supplement after you've eaten one of those types of things, and it will help your body to process them a little bit more effectively. So that's something to look into. And then also Hilma has a similar, it's called a digestive aid. It's also for dairy and gluten. You can find them on Thrive Market. You can just look them up on their website too. Hilma is HILMA. And Thrive Market, actually, if you didn't know, as a teacher, you can get a free uh, membership to them, which is like a $60 value. I think their yearly membership is like $60. So if you're a teacher, a current teacher, you can apply uh, for their membership, which is really nice. So they've got lots of great brands on there that are dairy and gluten free. But again, like I said, they also have supplements, and Hilma is a really great and well-trusted brand as well. So those would be, if you want to go the supplement route, say maybe you are eliminating gluten, but occasionally, you have the pizza, or you're with friends and have the slice of pizza or what have you, you can have that in your purse, or just with you, so that, if you need that to support you in digestive aiding, in aiding your digesting, in aiding your digestion of gluten, then, that could be something that might be beneficial for you. But yeah, all in all, I wanted to share this because, again, in real time, this is something that I am noticing, as I tried to reincorporate one of my favorite bread companies, local bread companies that makes fresh bread. I tried to get a couple loaves of bread from them, and noticed that I was just having these really bad headaches after eating them, after eating their bread products. And so it's a no-go for me. I'm gonna have to stick with the gluten free options. And if I do decide to, every once in a while have a splurge item with gluten, I just need to know that, that's gonna be the the effect. And definitely I'm thinking about getting the dairy and gluten enzyme support supplement from Equilife. I have used a lot of their products in the past, so probably that'll be the one that I get for myself. But yeah, I hope, again, as always, that this is supportive and helpful for you and to you. And if you know someone who is struggling or dealing with migraines, headaches, and you think, or they think, that it could be related to their consumption of gluten, send them this episode, because, we're here to support each other, and I want to make sure that this reaches those that need to hear it. So please share this far and wide if you know people or family members or friends that this could be supportive too. So that is that. I hope you have a fantabulous start to your week if you are listening to this on the day that it releases. If not, I hope you have a great day, great rest of your day. Um, and I will chat with you next week. Take care.